Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello, Wazingwa. Hello, Chanda. Just confirm if you can get me. Oh, all right. Thank you very much. Good evening, Royd. How are you doing?
What we need to say.
Good evening, Royd. Welcome to the podcast. Good evening, Chusa. Welcome to today's podcast. Kindly confirm if you can get me.
Thank you very much. I can get you clearly. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We'll be starting shortly, just waiting for the guest and just for more people to come through.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Good evening, everyone. Is everyone
Good evening.
able to get me?
Loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much. Warm welcome, Mr. Phatiswayo.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So we're about to begin. Just briefly, just give a minute or so to for some more people to join because the link has been shared. Okay, I think we are going to start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Grindcast ZM podcast. If you're able to get me, just react with any emoji. All right, thank you so much. So, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, the Grindcast ZM podcast is a weekly podcast that dives into the minds of some of Zambia's most innovative entrepreneurs and change makers. Each and every episode we have brings you candid conversations about realities of building something from nothing, overcoming challenges, and creating impact. Our mission is to inspire the next generation of creators, innovators, and leaders by sharing authentic stories of perseverance, creativity, and success against all odds. So, for those who are tuning in for the first time, today we are having a very, very interesting and insightful episode, which is building a personal brand from scratch. Now, building a personal brand from scratch, we're talking zero connections, zero audience, limited resources, and essentially from scratch in the most literal sense possible. So, for the mere fact that you're here, you resonate with this and you would want to learn more and more and get some vivid practical insights on how to do this. Now, we have been privileged to have a guest by the name of Mr. Phatiswayo Chabwera, who is the marketing head and executive for Yango, that's for Zambia and Namibia. Now, just a few insights on Mr. Phatiswayo. I'm sure he's going to lead us through more, but he has over 12 years work experience. That's 6 years in marketing and advertising, 6 years in banking and consultancy. He has worked across various companies. We're talking APSA, Yango itself. Let me not get ahead of whatever it is that he has prepared, but you are welcome, Mr. Phatiswayo. We are humbled to have you, and we can't wait to hear what you have prepared for us. So, without wasting any further time, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation to this platform. One that I've actually watched from a distance, never expected to have been invited, but I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'd like to start by just giving a background on my career, right? So, rightly introduced, I have been in initially in banking, and from banking, I then mastered marketing. So the transition is actually quite interesting because in banking, my focus was on customer service and building relationships. And I realized quite quickly that wasn't very true to who I am or my passions and my interest. Fortunately, there was a marketing agency that was then looking for uh, a client relations manager who had experience with the finance sector, within the finance sector. And so I took a shot, I applied for it. And it was quite a leap at the time because the banking role was very secure and I was just very eager to really express who I am personally and professionally, right? So when this opportunity came up, I said, let me just take a chance. I applied for it. I was selected for that role. And in that position, I didn't realize how vast the marketing profession and industry is, particularly here in Zambia, because that's obviously where I started. So particularly here in Zambia, I wasn't uh, expecting to have discovered and learned as much as I ultimately did. And so from that marketing role, I was exposed to various big brands and industries across this region. So it was with brands like APSA, it was Blue Band, it was BetLion, just to mention a few. And very, very intense work in marketing. Ultimately, an opportunity came up with Yango. And ironically, the marketing agency that was attached to at that time, when Yango launched in Zambia, that particular agency was managing the Yango account. And I was selected to be the lead on that account. At the time, I was none the wiser to the Yango brand. And ride hailing at that time was very foreign to our space here. And I remember thinking to myself, what is this exactly? We know Uber, abroad, but how would this perform here? And it just took over so quickly, and I learned the ins and outs of the service, and I was very, very intrigued. And just to see how the market adopted it, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. I remember one comment that my then boss said to me. He said, who knows, in time, perhaps you would then be invited to take up a position officially with that company. And it was still grassroots Yango at that time. And I said, sure, because I didn't think that this Yango was going to be the platform that we know today. And so fast forward a couple years later, I even moved on to get another marketing agency, and then this role came up. And I thought to myself, I wonder, I wonder if it'll work out if I put myself forward for this. After six grueling interview stages, I was then selected to take up the position I have now. And not only have I been initially marketing just for the one region, but then extended to Namibia, and my regional focus will then expand too soon to speak on right now. But it's quite a dynamic journey. It's been very, very, very uh, fast paced. And I would like to speak on the very huge difference between marketing on an agency side and marketing for what we call in the industry on the client side. So, well, now I'm no longer the client. I'm marketing for brand, but in the industry, that's how it's termed. If you're a marketer on the agency side and a marketer on client side, so it's very, very different, very, very vast. But one thing that I've been very grateful for, and it's allowed me to execute a lot of the initiatives that I have done so far, is having had that footprint and that launch pad, so to speak, in marketing agencies. Because marketing agencies, if anyone right now knows, it's sort of the of our kinds of people, right? Tech driven, innovative entrepreneurs. And I think that's the bane of what marketing and advertising is in and of itself, right? First got into marketing, I didn't anticipate the type of uh, power and control that can come from various brand communications. No idea at all that this is the kind of interest that would come out of, our very traditional type of landscape. Zambians very friendly, very easygoing. We are. What else can I say about us? But one of the main things, I didn't think that we'd be as reactive to um, the technology that was happening. I noticed as well with being able to uh, connect with various audiences across various sectors, I then recognize a certain role that comes with holding the position that I have professionally. And what I mean by that is um, a curiosity is then extended, right, in the audience of our landscape. People then want to know, who is this person behind these types of projects? Who is this uh, strategist, and how are these things done? Where do they come from? How far? How high? How low? And I think I really am grateful for platforms like LinkedIn, because you then are able to share a little piece of what you do get up to. And it's not just, I try not to only highlight the wins, but also the things that may have not been as widely received or as successful as we had initially hoped. And in doing that, I have honestly seen in the past year and a half my platform grow so much more. So I had started out with a few hundred people, paying attention, or I guess maybe blindly following my career and the things that I get up to. But in the past year and a half, it's about a couple of thousand, right? And it's not just a couple of thousand blind followers, but it's the engagement that that I get to witness, interact with. I get to learn from others. I get to be able to share my own insights from my own experience. Incredibly fulfilling, and it's actually very important to understand the currency of personal branding and creating a digital personality, I can say, the way I think some professionals do here in Zambia, and I think everywhere. Very, very, very big strides that people are utilizing with these social media platforms that we have. And so once you understand the currency of uh, an online personality or a presence or some kind of niche influencer, because that's what I think I align myself to, not influencing, but just having a very niche part of the space that I hold in this market. Um, I think a lot of the times there is a misconception that people believe you need to have hundreds and thousands of followers. You need to have hundreds and thousands of likes to then matter and to actually influence and to have people pay attention to you, or to actually feel like you do have something to contribute by way of any type of conversation in the space that you amass. And I think for me, that's what makes it much more compelling, much more useful. That it's not about the biggest following, it's not about the biggest, it's the engagement more than anything, because you might have a few thousand, and sometimes even a couple hundred people who are watching you and they're engaging with you. And honestly, just imagine being one person and saying anything, posting anything, and all of a sudden you have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people either coming up in the impressions or in the likes and in the comments. That's what matters more than having a million followers and only 10 people commenting one reaction. It really doesn't go that far. So once you do learn your space, your place, and actually make the most of it as you continue to grow, because this is not where it just starts and ends. There's so much more obviously to come. And personally and professionally, I'm looking forward to that. But I honestly can say I think there's so much more strength in niche personal branding and being more, how can I call it? Maybe bespoke as a professional. Another thing that I think I want to mention is that one thing that I think helped me be at least as passionate and as competent as I am is and COVID, because there was no other way to really interact the way we could. Quite all right, our lockdowns were not as severe as in the West, for example, but there still were limitations. There were ways that we could and could not engage with certain brands, and one of that was to communicate via mediums, television, social media, especially, really peaked, right? And even post-COVID, it was a way to engage with our audiences. Because if you really think about it, right now, all of us with our smartphones, tablets, laptops, there's so much information at our disposal, so much need for our attention, because ultimately the audience or the consumer is now the product. It's no longer the other way around. So we, in that regard, are what all of these products, all of these services are tapping into and trying to get out of us, get conversions, to get impressions, to get visibility. And so being very passionate and intentional and deliberate and finding exactly who I am in this space, I believe has helped in being able to just be invited to platforms like this and speak and share. I don't have it all figured out. I'm very much still learning. I'm still so hungry for so much more. I try as much as possible to research what is happening outside of these borders, what's happening. I think there's two markets for me that are very um, uh, evolutionary. It's Kenya, it's West Africa. We know for sure South Africa as well. and being able to try and replicate bit of those things here has been quite gratifying. But there also have been things that I've introduced to this space, trying to engage with consumers, trying to speaking specifically to what I do, trying to drive app downloads and driver registrations, done various types of things that have not really been seen before here. I think one key thing to understand is type of people and of audience. Again, speaking specifically to the brand that I represent, there is a need for actual engagement as much as possible, even in real time, with the audience. What do I mean by that? Experiential marketing projects, engaging and reels on social media, those types of things, having to be able to create a mouthpiece for the product, marketing. And when I say right now, not just in this very moment, but I want to say in the recent past to where we are now and going forward. Right now, people want to feel a personal and emotional connection to what is being put out to them. It's not like how it was when some of us were growing up. A product is just cell phone devices, food. Before it was just like, it's tasty, get it. But now it's tasty, and this is what it can do for you. This is what your benefit will be. Convenience. That's what people want to feel. It's like, okay, cool. Out of all the choices that are out there, because the competition also is very stiff. Out of all of the choices that are available to the audience, so why should we pick you? Why should we ride that particular ride-hailing service over the next one? Why should I buy this bread over that other loaf of bread? Why this milk? Why all of these types of choices? But it needs to be something that then drives the person you're trying to target in. And with that pulling them in, the next step is also just working hard to ensure that they stay loyal. And loyalty means treating them right. I've said several times before that Yango is one brand that I think that Zambia loves to hate. There's like a huge love-hate relationship. There are things that are done, really, really well, and people are happy about it. And then there's some things that, maybe could be improved. But I think by and large, and ultimately, I think we're doing all right. I think we're doing all right. And I think also with how fast the brand has grown and taken up in this space, it's forced not just myself in marketing, but our entire team, operations, back office, um, uh, the dev team, our support team. Everyone has had to learn how to respond very, very quickly and to anticipate rather than just be reactive. Something goes wrong, and it's now trying to look for how can we damage, rather anticipate it before anything goes the other way, right? So really and truly, if we're going to talk about personal branding, if we're going to talk about influencing, if we're going to talk about being a public figure, if we're going to talk about any kind of highlight on a position that requires one to represent, for me, my recipe, have genuine interest in it. Work hard to be an expert. And that's not just reporting for work or reporting to your businesses and hustling as an entrepreneur, but actually researching on all of these things. The world is evolving so quickly. And every time I say the world, I'm genuinely speaking about even us in a developing country, the world even here, Zambia, evolving so quickly. Because the things that we were doing 3 years ago, 6 years ago, definitely not what's happening right now. and it's always important to make sure that you stay a step ahead, not just only for any affiliations, professional affiliations you attach yourself to or you're employed to or you run as a head of a business, but even as you're setting yourself up to be your own self, an expert in whatever it is. For me, um, as a professional in marketing, I genuinely don't see myself doing anything else. Maybe later on, I still have a few years. I still have a few years to prove to be a youth. So maybe much, much later on. But I genuinely am always moved by what we're doing as Zambians in this space, what we're doing as Africans in this space in marketing, evolving, and also finally having pride in our identity. Um, I can't tell you enough how passionate and driven I am by being able to see people and visuals that look like the average Zambian man, woman, boy, girl. And especially when we're speaking to that audience, I really, really love seeing that. And in a lot of my work, I think you will see I try to be as intentional about that as possible, even when I'm creating anything for Namibia. I try as much as possible to say, fine, this is the type of campaign that we have in a region called the Coast. They look more like this, and I like to create, be it outdoor visuals, be it social media campaigns, and so on. Try to make the audience see themselves, because that's another touch point, and it's another emotional connection that tells you that these people are thinking about me, or people like me and my immediate needs. All of these things put together, honestly, I don't think, no matter what field that you're in with everyone listening right now, no matter what field you're in, as long as you're passionate, as long as you're constantly looking to learn, you're very, very hungry to break the next frontier of what is possible right now. The need to influence, the need to be a public figure, to be a spokesperson of any kind, you will see that, and it's authentic, right? Because it's coming from the inside. You will see the audience will respond. People will definitely respond to you. People will be interested in what you have to say and ultimately what you want to sell, because I think that's what it makes what we do and what we enjoy even more gratifying when you're able to monetize and say, look, I'll come and make an appearance um, for a fee, or I'll go to a particular conference and host a panel discussion, all those kinds of things. So I think right now where I'm at, or at least where I see myself, I think is still quite niche, and I think we're doing all right. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what the future has.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Phatiswayo, for that insight you've given. One key takeaway point for me, I think, has been to be authentic and resonate with what you do. You've talked about how you had to transition from banking to marketing because essentially it resonated more with you as an individual. And I think this is one
Mm,
thing which people may miss because we are looking at so many trends and people essentially want to gain the numbers. You've talked about how the numbers may not matter that much compared to
mm,
the engagement. Now, I want to find out a little bit more from you when it comes to now you've talked about this, but I just want to get some more in-depth outline because you talked about how you picked up Yango or you got onto Yango in its grassroots phases.
right.
Now, I do understand that Yango started with, I think, some good and not so limited resources. Now, here's an individual who wants to start with a very limited financial muscle. How do you get to put yourself out there, be it as a brand for a company
Mm-hmm.
or as an individual?
Mm-hmm. That's actually a very good question, and it leads me to another point that I actually wanted to raise before maybe I unpack what you just brought up just now. So I'll just go backwards a little bit, and then I'll come back. We also have to be a little bit open-minded. When I say we, I want to speak about us maybe in Zambia, Sub-Sahara Africa, right? Especially markets like Zambia. We have to be realistic when we are coming out of school. We have to be open-minded when we're starting our careers. We have to be a little bit flexible to a limit, because I think it's only right, even professionally, to have a level of boundaries, even as you're starting out. I'm raising this point because in hindsight, I didn't know it back then when I was starting out, but in hindsight, I think when I was job hunting, I was very much um, immediately frustrated because, what I thought I wanted to do at that time was not happening in the instant. Like, it wasn't happening right now. Like, why am I not a manager right now? Why am I not part of these big exco meetings right now? You know what I mean? Um, and it took me many, 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 many years to actually appreciate my journey professionally. And then I think just kind of like accepting uh, where I was at that time and trusting the process to believe that, you know what, I'll eventually, as I keep applying myself, I keep learning, I keep networking, I keep meeting people who believe in the vision of what I can do, um, whether it's as an employee, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and so on and so forth. The time will come. The time will come, right? And so when I think when I tapped into that, then I started to feel and see the world around me changing, the professional world around me changing. And now I can come into to your question. Uh, Honestly, taking advantage of whatever opportunity that you have, never be ashamed of it. You've got contacts, you've got connections, you've got huge resources. There's no shame in tapping into that. However, if you do not and you're starting out, be as bold and as confident and as outgoing as you can be, because I promise you, there will always be someone or some investor or some innovator or some employer who's going to see what you're doing, And right now, with the digital era that we're in, there's all sorts of opportunities. You just have to be ready to receive and to put yourself out there. And I'm not just speaking on this from without, right? So let me give you an example, a personal example. So before Yango, yes, before this Yango role, I was with a particular marketing agency, and that marketing agency unfortunately had to downsize, and I was one of the employees who was downsized from the organization. And at that point, I had already, because in my career, I've worked for of the leading, two of some of the leading agencies here in Zambia, right? Well, in Sub-Saharan Africa, to be quite frank. Um, and so that had me really question, okay, what am I going to do? I worked for this agency and I worked for this other agency, and now I'm looking for a new opportunity. What am I going to do? Right? And then I started to think about what my interests are, what I know. And I said, you know what? Let me do this on my own, right? How am I going to do it on my own? I started thinking about my network. Who are the people that I've met during the course of my career? This was maybe some 4 years ago. Who have I met? Obviously, at that point, I had already closed the banking chapter and I'd already started the professional side of the marketing. So at that point, I already knew who I was professionally, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to earn a living, and all of that. And so I said to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? I remembered my network. I remember because, and this is why they say, guys, your net worth, sorry, is your network, right? Because iron sharpens iron. If you're spending time around people who are not actually moving the needle in their own fields in whatever they endeavor, then obviously you will also keep this, this level of where you are at. There will be no growth, there will be no expansion, there will be no learning, there won't be any of that, right? And so I thought to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I said, wait a minute. I've worked with this and this person for this particular media agency. I've worked for this and this, and when I say worked with, like, in marketing, and I think like with any industry, there's a supplier who you need to ask for this. There's someone who you need to consult for that. And I thought about all of these people and I made a list out of those people and I said, fine, this one will help me do this. Because then I started to say, let me set myself up as a consultant. And I went all the way back even into my banking era. Mind you, at that time, it was a very entry level role. So then all of the people that we were working with, was fresh out of school, not really knowing who we are professionally. But I still said, there's got to be someone who, or at least some people. And sometimes you just need a handful. You don't need the whole world. You don't need 100 people. Don't let social media mislead you. There's no such thing as an overnight sensation. There really isn't. We all have a story. I bet you when we started this this podcast, no one was expecting me to say like, oh, there was a time when I wasn't working. There was, guys. And that time, as much as, it's mentally or emotionally effective, it also challenged me because then I set myself up as a consultant with the help of the people in my network. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, all of a sudden I found myself consulting for Micmar, like being a marketing consultant for them. All of a sudden I was issuing invoices for the work that I was doing, which was even more than the salary that I was getting from the agency that had said we're downsizing you guys, right? And so honestly, guys, if there's anything we're going to take away from this conversation tonight, be bold and take calculated risks. And after this session, speak to change. If you know that the people around you are not people who you can create ideas with and build something with, then you probably have to think about it. Because for me, that's really what the game changer was. There were no resources there. I said, I'm going to be a marketing consultant. I'm going to create a website. I'm going to have a portfolio. I'm going to create a company profile. All of those things I did, by myself from nowhere. And by virtue of the network that I had, in no time, I was consulting for Micmar for the longest. Well, that's a lie, not the longest time, but at the time, I think because being an entrepreneur sometimes can be so uncertain. You don't know, like, when the next project or when the next opportunity will come. But in that moment, it felt like such a long time. But in hindsight, it was about 6 months. And then an opportunity came up with Yango. And that's how I got in. But for me, I'll keep saying it for as long as I can. Invest in yourself, learn and master what you do, become an expert at it. There's so much noise and there's so much clutter, and everyone is shaping themselves up to be a professional in a field that you're probably already in. We are all so unique, personally, professionally, academically, business acumen. We all have something different to give from the next person, and that's what will set you apart. Um, and we do have some good fortune being in a developing country in that there's still so much room for us to uncover and for us to grow. And so there's no reason why we all can't be masters at our fields, whether it's for an organization as an employee or being an entrepreneur. I really do wish when I was coming up, and actually, one of my peers from when I was much younger is on this call, so I'm happy to see that. But I think she can relate. When we were coming up, there was no conversation about being an entrepreneur. There was no conversation about being a consultant. There was none of that. We were all being trained to work for someone. We're all being trained to follow than to lead. And now that is not an unusual thing. We're seeing many people in different sectors right here in sub-Saharan Africa, right here at home in Zambia, who are disrupting by virtue of doing things on their own. And not everyone had um, a venture capitalist backing them. Not everyone had a rich uncle, issuing some kind of in-kind loan. No, there was none of that. Not everyone has that type of story. And if you do, again, I think use every advantage at your disposal. Obviously, use it wisely, and then climb, 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 and grow, grow, grow as much as you can. But that's my story. So it's not always picture perfect. Honestly, it's not. But when it is, it's nice. I'm not gonna lie. It's nice. It's great. You're able to then, I think, share your stories and inspire others and motivate others and create communities. Again, thank you to social media and this digital age we're in. There's so many different types of communities and networks we can tap into to to gain insights that perhaps were not as easily accessible as they were 5, 10 years ago. Um, so again, bet on yourself. No capital, no funding, no whatever. Let the world see that I know what I'm talking about. I have done it before. I can do it again, and I can do it for you. So you're missing out by not working with me, not working with my brand, not working with my company, not, employing me, like all of these different things. So another thing I'd really like everyone to take away tonight is that.
All right, thank you so much once again. Now, I wouldn't like to take the spotlight. I'd just like to open the floor just in case someone with an itching question. This is your opportunity. If there's anyone with a question, you may as well just go ahead and speak. Okay, it looks like we have a very silent audience
Don't be
today.
shy. Maybe we should
But
get volunteers.
yes,
We'll
maybe
just
we
start
should.
saying names.
Anyone with anything, any takeaway, anything that hit you, anything that you feel you would like to tell anyone out there. All right, yes, Mr. Manya, please go ahead. Yes, please.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been following what you've been saying. So I got interested when you mentioned that my network is my network. But then at the point where I'm still a student, this is when I'm just getting started in university. How do I
Mm-hmm,
know
mm-hmm,
who is going to be a better connection for me in future? How do I just determine that?
mm-hmm. Okay, so for me, when I was a student, it was about spending time with the bright stars of the class. Everyone who was always um, uh, leading, for example, the student union, anyone who was always creating agendas for the faculty to have to at least uh, pay attention to and to react to and to respond to. Anyone who's always the top of anything, be as close to them as you can. If you're not incredibly close, like a handshake, at least in that vicinity. Because again, it's the old age saying, iron sharpens iron. And one thing that I love, 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 love again about our social media age is I've seen students, like students right now, I could share their names, but I don't know if, you know, they have created um, or they've set themselves apart as public figures as they are studying, talking about what they are doing, what they've learned in school, the types of research that they've been conducting, and people are buying into that because it's genuine, it's real. People can see that this one is someone to watch, you know. Um, who can I take as an example? But I mean, maybe I shouldn't because I don't want to like speak on someone else's experience. But me looking from the outside in, seeing, for example, there's a Bright student who last year we had a Yango Fellowship consort of 30 fellows from the STEM field. And there's one particular bright girl, and she's super young. I think right now she's like maybe 20 or something. And ever since the time, you know, like maybe from senior secondary, she was in jets and she was getting all these types of scholarships and whatever. And because of social media, she was sharing these stories about how brilliant and how bright she is. And even when you're not the most brightest, you know, in the class, there's still ways you need to sit down and think about, okay, how can I present myself? What can make me more unique in, you know, in this time in my studies to the world, that when there are employers out there, exactly, Frida, thank you so much. When there are employers out there, when there are business expos out there who are looking to say we're going to issue grants and all these kinds of things, when you're coming to say this is what I do, this is what I know, there's that footprint that's showing that okay, this is not someone who's just, you know, by and by. This is actually an expert. This is actually a thespian in their field. That's how I would encourage you to start. Take it seriously. For me, I wish I knew that because when I was studying, I remember, I think LinkedIn was just about starting out. And I was thinking to myself, I'll never forget this. I was always thinking to myself, oh, I just have to wait and get my first job and then I'll be on LinkedIn. Had I known that the things that I was doing during my studies, I would have started talking about it back then. You know, I'm posting about it, I'm asking people to give their thoughts on that type of thing, you know. And in the beginning, it might feel like you're talking to yourself. Right now, if you look at my LinkedIn, I mean, there is engagement and, you know, there is uh, like a footprint of various things and my followers engaging. But when I just started, it was like one like, no comments. But you have to be consistent, and eventually you are going to see that reaction. So that's my best advice I think I can give at this point, Manya.
All right, thank you so much. I want to believe your question has been answered. Okay, yes. Then Chusha, I think you can go ahead as well with your question.
All right,
Then
thank
after
you
that,
very much.
Ainza.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Presenter. I just want to say thank you for the presentation. You talked about passion, loving what you do, on being determinant about what you do. But most
Right.
of the times, for I'm sure you experienced this in your young age as an entrepreneur, when you're getting into a project, you're too excited, you're so happy because you think like it work out instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But here comes the reality when like the reality now strikes in. You see so progress. So as for you, what did you do so that you can keep the fire burning? Because sometimes it's where most young entrepreneurs give up,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they
Mm-hmm.
see. So for you, what really worked out for you so that you can just keep the passion and
Mm-hmm.
the fire burning at the same time? Thank you.
Comparison is the biggest killer of any dream, because a lot of the times, and I want to emphasize that a lot of my responses are coming from like, you know, my personal experiences. Comparing yourself to what that other group of people are doing, what these other young entrepreneurs are doing, what these other young interns are doing at this company, comparing yourself will definitely be the surest way to bring you down. Keeping the fire burning is you keeping that tunnel vision and knowing that, you know what, no matter what's happening around me, I know where I'm going, I know what I'm trying to achieve. You've got a purpose for it, and you know that this is this is something that matters to you, be it personally, professionally, financially, whatever the reasons. Again, I'd said earlier, ignore the noise. It's so hard. Social media shows you all of these things. We had Speed here in Zambia doing his African tour. I think he's like 10 years old, and we're all talking about how many millions and millions of dollars he has, and that can be it can be very discouraging. What am I doing wrong? I also have a smartphone. I can also use a professional camera and have, a chat that I talk to, and I'm just doing these silly things. But keep your tunnel vision, stay focused, and that's where the passion will come in. That's where the fire will keep burning, because you know that it might not look like it's making sense right now, but I know I'm onto something. I've got a group of people around me who believe in this as well. We're all striving towards that. That's really the best way, honestly. Stop comparing yourself. Don't be impatient, because right now I think a lot of us young people, we want to be overnight sensations. We want tomorrow, we're already the Jito Kayumbas of the world. We want to be, all of these people that are so inspiring and they're doing great things at, such young ages. Frida from the STEM, all of these people, doing these great things. We want to be just like them, but we all have our own path. I'm going to, speak on it like that. We all have our own path, our own journey, and trust the process. Always trust the process, even when it looks wild, but it means something to you. You know that you're not crazy. You know that you're genuinely doing it for the right reasons. You honestly see sky is the limit.
All right, thank you so much. Then I think the last question, in the interest of time, is going to come from Mainza. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I joined late, but I have a question. I'm currently a graduate, I would say. So I'm in a state or position where I don't really know where I can start from. Like even networking, I'm actually that person never took that interest
Mhm,
until my fourth year, which was my last. So right now it's like I don't really know what to do.
mhm,
So how would you advise me on that one? Because seeing on how things are like, my friend has a job. Okay,
mhm,
my friend is an entrepreneur. But for
mhm,
me, I don't really know where to start from. Even financially,
mhm.
I don't know where to start from. Like everything is just zero. Even ideas,
Yeah,
like everything is
yeah,
down. Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for that one, Mainza. I remember when I also was at 00000, fresh out of school, not sure who to call, where to go, and all of that. And it can be one of the depressing times. And I want to just give you some encouragement to say that I promise you, it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this. I promise you, it's not always going to be like this. Um, I think the fact that you're joining spaces like this right now, as much as you mentioned that you joined late, I don't think you should worry too much about that. But it's spaces like this where you get to meet all kinds of different people right now on this call. Right now, I'm seeing that there are maybe over 10, 15 people on this call right now. You never know who you're speaking to, you never know who you're listening. There is absolutely nothing wrong with reaching out. Don't kill yourself in pride and being shy. There's nothing wrong with asking, You could even ask me, hey, are there any opportunities, not only where I work or with the people that I speak to? And if there are, there's nothing wrong with making that correct connection. If there are not, you just have to keep pushing. You just have to put your pride aside, keep searching, keep asking, and I promise you, when the time is right, um, it just takes one yes. It always just takes one yes. So this being here right now, this is networking. This is an opportunity for you to then, I mean, I think we're all able to, whoever is of interest to you, you can just say, oh, I've seen, there's this person, there's that person, and you don't lose anything. It doesn't take anything from you by reaching out and asking. The worst that can happen is no, and it might not change anything. It might not feel great, I promise you it does eventually change. But this is networking. This question and comment that you raised right now is you putting yourself out there. Not always easy, I know it. And I'm going to speak on it this way as well. As men, we get very, very, proud. We get very, very, um, shy sometimes to kind of like say, look, I need help. And you've done that. And continue joining forums like this, continue reaching out, continue asking for opportunities. You never, never know where your break will come through.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to allow Geoffrey. Hope your question is as brief as possibly can be.
Thank you very much. I've been enjoying the presentation. So my question is, how best do you build confidence in yourself? Because when you're starting out, you may have those what if questions. What if people don't believe in me? How best do you build confidence? Because the one thing you emphasize is boldness when you're starting out. So how best do you build that confidence in yourself?
I'm sorry, the line is not very clear. If there's anyone who might have heard, I only got pieces of
Okay,
your.
so my question is, can you get me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Uh, I'm gonna poor
Okay, I
network.
think I think I got I think I got his question. He's talking about building confidence because we have the aspect of what if questions, what if I fail, what if it doesn't work out. So he's saying, how do you build confidence in yourself? If I got him correct.
Can you get me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. So your question was around how to build confidence. Hello?
Geoffrey, are you able to get through to us? But I believe that should be his question.
Okay. All right. How to get confidence? That's a very good question. Honestly, I think confidence can be learned, confidence can be taught. One of the things I think that I tapped into, I don't believe I'm the most confident person in the world. Honestly, I don't. But I definitely used to be a very, very shy young man. Um, One of the things that kind of helped me come out of my shell is looking at people who I admired, who I looked up to. And I remember thinking, wow, if only I could be like that person, that guy is, communities, be it at church, be it at school, be it, I always just like, trying to then look at these people and in my own time and in my own spaces, I would start to mimic what they would do. I'm not saying mimic in terms of like copying the way they talk, but just remembering, for example, that wherever there was an opportunity and to ask a question, they just asked. Wherever there was a chance to maybe make a contribution, give a comment, they just did it. And so very slowly I started to do the same thing and just kind of like speak up. I think that's where it starts. I think identify a mentor or someone who you look up to, someone who you think, oh, that person, and you're following them, be it on social media or in, your communities, the various spaces that you spend most of your time, and just trying to emulate. I think that's a better word, actually. Trying to emulate the positive traits or the more confident traits that you admire about them and try and apply them in your own life. It's not something that you can like do overnight. Like today, you say, okay, um, Comba inspires me a CEO of something. Not necessarily like that, but just starting to emulate the things that you see in whoever it is that you admire or look up to, and then in time you will see that actually you're not as shy or as closed up as you believe. I think a lot of these things are in our mind because we're worried about what will people say. They'll laugh at me. What will they think? Honestly, half the time these things are in our heads. No one really cares because everyone's going through something. Everyone is going through something. So honestly, that's my take on that, or that's my advice. I think start to emulate the people who you look up to. That's what I did, and that's what I continue to do as well, and continue to be a learner as much as possible. And yeah, the confidence will come. It will come.
All right, thank you so much once again to everyone who managed to join us for today. Unfortunately, we are a bit short on time. Thank you so much, Mr. Fasiwayo. We really appreciate the time which you have spared to give us these candid and vivid insights on how to build a personal brand from scratch. I myself have learned so much. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was your network is your net worth. And I know the flip side of networking is have something to offer, because no one wants to be connected to someone with nothing to offer. So I have really benefited so much, and I believe everyone has really enjoyed today's session. In case you were joining us and you may have come a bit late, our episode will be available on YouTube. Just search Grindcast ZM, Grindcast Podcast ZM, and you're going to find it on YouTube. We have some other episodes there as well. Okay, the link has just been shared in the chat. In case you joined us for the first time, Grindcast ZM is a weekly podcast that dives deep into some of Zambia's most innovative entrepreneurs and change makers. And essentially, our mission is to inspire the next generation of creators, innovators, and leaders by sharing authentic stories. Today, we learned from Mr. Phatiswayo. And through these authentic stories of perseverance and creativity and success against all odds, we are essentially providing a platform where innovation can meet inspiration. As Mr. Fatiswayo said, your success is just awaiting one simple yes. It doesn't matter how many no's are going to come through along the way, but it just takes one yes, and you could be well on your way to be the next Jito Kayumba, as it were. Thank you so much for joining us. I have been your host, Mutila Lutangu, signing out.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. The session is over, but it's going to be available on our YouTube channel just in a short while. Thank you.